You were talking about the role of independent media and how we're small. And I think that it's true that it's going to have to be truly independent folks that rise up, because we've seen so much complacency across the board as the United States government has been getting more emboldened to erode the rights of the people around us. We already live in a fundamental carceral state. We live in a police state. We live in the most incarcerated society of all time. And now we have Secretary of State Marco Rubio discussing with El Salvador's president to send incarcerated quote unquote Americans. They're talking about undocumented folks. We're shipping people from our country to El Salvador, which is a huge leap, potentially, right? They're negotiating.
And it says legal residents too, not just undocumented people.
Exactly, which would be crazy. And again, I don't want to alarm anybody. It hasn't happened yet. We have the time to resist this, but this is what they're discussing. This is what they're doing temp checks on. We talked about how people haven't been resisting. The more that they think they can get away with, the more they will get away with, right? And now they're doing all kinds of PR propaganda, man. I know you've seen it. This is Dr. Phil. Fuck Dr. Phil. All my homies hate Dr. Phil. Fuck you. I saw a video. I think it's in this clip. He's shocked that the guy recognizes him because that's how far he's dehumanized these undocumented folks. He thinks they don't have eyes and ears. He thinks they don't watch the TV at the doctor's office like everybody else. Yeah, your stupid fucking show is on in the McDonald's that nobody's paying attention to, Dr. Phil. He's seen you before.
That's the craziest shit too. I can imagine getting arrested and Dr. Phil is with the pigs. Like you're already being fucking humiliated, and then you see Dr. fucking Phil around the car, and you're like, "Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me?"
And so you have him. He's doing this all the time, right? In Chicago, in Dallas, he's having a time. He's signing up. He's volunteering his time on his own dime. He's going around just because he wants to see undocumented folks be treated like fucking second-class citizens, third-class citizens, dehumanized, ripped from their families. Imagine wanting to see that. Imagine spending your money to go see that. You guys might have been exposed to his pivot, right, when he went on a popular progressive show, The Young Turks, Dr. Phil, on how to fight back against identity politics. So they were hearing from a pro, and now, if you can believe it, Cenk is going to Dallas. This is from yesterday, so I imagine they're recording this as we speak. I'm going to Dallas right now. Yeah, Dallas, where we just showed you a video of Dr. Phil. The first video is Chicago. The second video is Dallas. He's in Dallas making propaganda for ICE. Cenk Uygur flies down there, and the Blaze TV, owned by Glenn Beck, he's going to talk to some asshole named James Poulos, who I've never heard of. You know why? Because we need to talk to each other and begin and understanding one another. This dude would literally be sitting down with Nazis during the Third Reich and talking about, I just want to understand why you want to put all these people in the Warsaw Ghetto. I just want to understand. If we don't know why they want them all loaded up on trains and sent to Warsaw and just rounded up together, we just need to understand it. I want to understand. I'm sorry, you want to hate them all. You want to call them all Nazis. Fine. Well, they're just people that are doing their job, okay? They're rounding up folks that the government said is against the law, and they're putting them somewhere else. That's that. You call them Nazis, fine. I want to call them fellow Americans.
And have a beer with them.
It's fucking crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's demented.
I do think this is a new fucking low for Cenk going on Dr. Phil, or going to the Blaze to talk to Dr. Phil after Dr. Phil has participated in these ICE raids, after he's lent a friendly and trustworthy face to this absolute domestic horror that we're witnessing. Because a lot of people do like Dr. Phil. I mean, left, right, like, even like my sister fucking loves Dr. Phil. There's a ton of people that just enjoy his content, even if they find it problematic. It's that classic reality television. And instead of doing anything fucking useful with his popularity, he's literally helping to manufacture consent for this Nazism, which 100% this fascism in this country. So I do think it's a total fucking new low for Cenk, and exactly what the three of us all were freaking out about when he embarked on this right-wing pivot, on this journey. It's exactly what we said would happen. He's continuing to say, this is an acceptable ideology that we have to understand and reckon with instead of fucking defeating. No, we don't have to understand Dr. Phil. We have to defeat Dr. Phil. That's what pisses me off about this. And yeah, you can sit down with your neighbor who has a fucking MAGA flag or a MAGA sign and try to understand that person, because that is literally just your fellow American, your neighbor, or someone that pays taxes and might be misinformed, brainwashed, propagandized, whatever. But people like Dr. Phil at this point, they're the ones doing the propagandizing. They're the ones doing the brainwashing of normal Americans. They are not normal Americans. Dr. Phil, again, is not someone you have to understand. He's someone you have to defeat.
That's right. That's right. And there's a reason why TYT has 6 million subscribers and just so conveniently have shifted to anything but resistance, anything but holding the line, any way that we could find a way to have a kumbaya moment with MAGA. I'm sorry, but if you all had 6 million subscribers, if I had 6 million subscribers in this moment, I think we would be rallying them into action. I think we would be moving our audience to stand in direct opposition to what MAGA is doing. But instead, Cenk Uygur of TYT is busy trying to hobnob with the rich and famous over there in MAGA land. Meanwhile, Anna Kasparian sees her numbers are down, so now she decided to go ahead and pick yet another fight, this time with Emma Vigeland and Francesca, right? She is intentionally engaging in this type of clickbaity and type of activity. Why? Because she needs to find her way further in the right as well. They've been doing it right in front of our eyes. And Zach and Gavin, let me tell you, that's why I appreciate your work. You all have been holding it down on this message from day one, actually, well, day two, because Ole Olurin, she was the one who I think she peeped it before all the rest of us.
Yeah, Ole definitely got on TYT and really kind of made it all clear when Cenk decided to just come at her for no fucking reason when she was having a friendly debate with him about cash bail. He said that she went on the show to argue to abolish all prisons, which is absolutely not true. He was crashing out on Twitter arguing with David Dole, of all people. David Dole is a sweetheart, man. There is absolutely nothing that you could say about David Dole that would prickle any feathers. If you guys look at it, he looks like a Boy Scout. He's literally got his Twitter profile picture in front of a lake with canoes, and it's a picture of him holding his son. You'd have to be a monster to try and come for, like, you know what I mean? Like, the guy is really,
tell me about it. Come on.
And so it's like, okay, so you're gonna make fun of a public defender from in Flatbush, Brooklyn, who comes on your show and says, no, dude, we actually shouldn't allow rich people to stay out of jail for crimes, and then put those poorer people in jail for that exact same crime. And essentially, we have to remind everybody that's what cash bail is. If you have money, you're out of jail. If you don't have money, you're in jail. So it's a crime for poor people, but not for rich people, right? And you know what they always say about jail: if you go in, you stay in. If you get out, you stay out. You know what I mean? So if after they book you, you get bail, well, it's going to be a lot harder for them to just kind of keep you, negotiate you, because they put pressure on you when you're in that jail to plead to something. For people in our audience, I know you guys are aware of the lengths of the carceral state, and so now they're just ever expanding it, right? And I want to tie it all back to that, because I think it's important that we all understand the treatment that is the harm that's being done to the quote unquote undocumented folks, right? The quote unquote illegal immigrants, the quote unquote these are people who are our neighbors, right? These are people who are in our country and that we have to look out for, and that we want the rights that we have to be afforded to all of them. That's what made America great. You're on our fucking soil. Guess what? You have our rights too. We're trying to change that. We're fucking with it. And as soon as you start to fuck with that, it's going to turn around and bite you in the ass, because they're going to find another reason to make you illegal. Oh, well, Rico cases, they don't get any. Oh, that's terrorism. Like, oh, that's domestic. Oh, no. Now they're going to be treated like we treat the undocumented folks, right? That's right. How they keep tightening it. And then it's like, and then it doesn't matter. Oh, you were part of the organized crime syndicate, even though you might just be a socialist group, right? That's trying to advocate for green justice. Now they're going to RICO you, they're going to spy on you, and they're going to throw you away in Guantanamo Bay. This is how we are creating those opportunities for our own government to subjugate us and persecute us more. And we're doing it by saying it doesn't impact us in some way, or it impacts us in some lesser capacity because these folks are without the adequate paperwork. And when you just say it out loud, you're like, no, it's okay that those people don't have the same rights as me. Their paperwork is different. It's like, what are you talking about, dog? Your paperwork could change like that.
Yes. And I want to bring that a little closer, if I could, for my black people. And I don't know how many black folks you got watching. And I know there's some. I know there's quite a few, actually. Because it makes absolutely no sense for a black person in the United States of America, descendant of an enslaved African in America, to call the snitch hotline for ICE. It just is a disgusting disgrace. It is a slight to our ancestors, because ICE is the Gestapo of white supremacy. And just because they're currently being used for deportation does not mean that they cannot be easily transformed into being used for what they'll say is criminal justice. But what it actually means is everything Black people have experienced in this country since 1619 will come back in full force. And they will impact not only Black people, they're coming after gay people, they're coming after unions, they're coming after woke white dudes such as yourselves. They're coming after all of us. Why? Because they know they can't win in the battlefield of ideas. They know they can't win at the ballot box of democracy. And so now they're executing force, starting slowly with the big lie, and they're going all the way the distance. I don't think anyone should fool themselves. MAGA will go the full distance to complete and total brutal subjugation and authoritarianism.
Yeah, very well put. And if I could just add, to kind of counter that point and say, as a white American, you look back and people always say like, oh, how could we do this? Right. Oh my God, how could you do that? Like, oh, how could my ancestors have turned the other eye? Well, you're kind of finding out right now. You know what I mean? You're kind of finding out right now where you would have fallen, right? When the battle lines were drawn. Because let me tell you what, there was a lot less information going around in the 1850s. Okay. You might have had way easier brainwash. If you're getting brainwashed now, you would have been a lost fucking cause in the 1850s. I'm telling you, if you're even sitting on the fence with this shit, you would have been riding with the Ku Klux Klan. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You don't like it because you don't like the truth. But I'm telling you, back then, you would have been like a John Wayne, like, let's go out and hunt the Comanche, motherfucker. That's what you would have been. You would have been like, oh, we got to get all of them there on our land. That's the same logic. You would have gone out hunting Indians. You'd burn crosses, intimidate. That's you. If this is you in 2025, that was you in 1855, right. 1755. That's you, right? And you can either own that or you can change.
You know what? But that makes me so happy that there's some dope white boys and girls and gender non-conforming squirrels, right? There's plenty of woke white folk who have always historically ridden with us, right? It wasn't always a lot, sometimes it was just John Brown, and we appreciate that. And so what we need right now is we don't, not necessarily if John Brown is on the board, though, I'll put it like that. We're not going to promote it, but just like the draft, we look at the clock, John Brown is on the board. Why? Because of what they're willing to do to people. And if we could sit back and watch someone get snatched up from their homes and we say nothing, or even worse, we're the one that called it in, then what happens when they turn that lion, those fangs on us like they have historically already done, Black folk? And so to all my woke white folk and everybody else in between, we need you all to stand up right now. I don't care if it's just 50 people in the audience. Y'all forgive me for preaching to the audience, but I'm serious. 50 people can get out there and change a narrative. 500 can get, but then I think about the 6 million that TYT has. And here we are scrambling, trying to get the word out to the best of our ability, fighting against the algorithm, amplifying each other, lifting each other up, going on each other's shows. Why? Because we know the truth. We know what they're really about. And we know what we have to do, but we don't have the resources of 20 years of progressive investment that gave TYT their 6 million subscribers that they're literally doing nothing with, as the barbarians are in their own gates.
The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir.